Hey everybody, welcome back to World History. We're doing section 3 today, and we are finishing the chapter today, so your notes are due after this lecture. Bell ringer today. Did the enlightened despots actually make meaningful changes? We'll do 17.3, the notes and the quiz. There'll be a video. The vocab quizzes today, and you'll get time to work on your review guide, and that Thinkers project for the honors course is due today. Our objectives today are to identify the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution and to analyze the birth of the American Republic. So, a little bit of context, and again, this should in theory be review for you guys from U.S. history last year. By the 1700s, Britain had a greater ability to trade due to its location, colonies, and had imposed fewer restrictions on trade. They'd won previous European conflicts like the French and Indian War that we talked about a couple chapters ago. And they also held a monopoly on the slave trade in Spanish America. They will take control of Ireland in the 1600s and then Scotland and Wales in 1701. At this point, they become the United Kingdom of Great Britain. England goes through a lot of names. At this point, George III is the king. He's eager to recover powers of the crown and work to end Whig domination, choose his own ministers, dissolve the cabinet system, and make Parliament follow his will. Basically, he just wanted everybody to follow what he was saying. So, a little bit of background for the European colonies in the States. By 1750, they were thriving. They were busy commercial centers in cities like New York and Boston, and colonial shipyards produced many vessels. Mercantilism was also really strong here in an attempt to strengthen its own economy by exporting more than importing. Parliament will pass the Navigation Acts to regulate colonial trade and manufacturing. Although, to be fair, far enough away from England, not rigorously enforced, and smuggling became very common. It was also home to a diverse religious and ethnic groups. Social distinctions were more blurred here than they were in Europe, and colonists felt entitled to the rights of English citizens, even though they didn't live in England, but they were still part of the England Empire. The 7 Years' War and the French and Indian War again drained the British treasury. And since a lot of the fighting had been over here, King George wanted the colonists to pay for the war. So they'll pass the Sugar Act in 1764 and the Stamp Act in 1765. Both added taxes on everyday goods used in the colonies. They're going to protest this since they didn't have a say in the taxes without representation. The Stamp Act will be repealed in 1766, and Parliament will then pass the Declaratory Act, basically stating they had complete authority over the colonists and they had no say in what was going on. So again, this is all review. March 1770, Boston Massacre. British troops kill 5 colonists after being pelted with stones and snowballs. Boston Tea Party, December of 1773. And then the First Continental Congress will meet later on to discuss the situation, and it included people like John Adams, a lawyer from Massachusetts, and George Washington, a farmer from Virginia. At this point, the colonists are then going to declare independence. In April of 1775, Lexington and Concord. The Second Continental Congress will meet after that and vote to declare independence. Thomas Jefferson will be the primary author of the Declaration, and it reflects Locke's ideas of government to protect natural rights like life, liberty, and property. It also included Locke's ideas that the people had the right to alter or to abolish unjust governments. Through the idea of popular sovereignty, it played a role by saying all power comes from the people, and the Declaration will be officially adopted and shared on July 4th, 1776. Now, to be fair, it was actually signed on like July 1st and 2nd, but they waited to announce it till the 4th so copies of it could reach all of the colonies. American Revolution, it looks pretty bad. The British outnumber us. You all know this. We did have some advantages, being familiar terrain, leaders like Washington, and a determination to fight. Our turning point is going to be the Battle of Saratoga. And at that point, the French will be persuaded to join the conflict, and eventually the war will end at the Battle of Yorktown. It will end with the Treaty of Paris. After the American Revolution, the Continental Congress established the Articles of Confederation, basically our first form of government. It was extremely weak. It didn't allow the government to collect taxes, no executive or judicial branches, and each state only got one vote. Eventually, leaders will gather in Philadelphia to write the Constitution. Among them are people like Washington, James Madison, and Benjamin Franklin. Madison will keep very detailed notebooks about the writing of the Constitution. And the framers of the Constitution were heavily influenced by the Enlightenment. It created a federal republic with power divided between federal and state governments and 3 branches, like Montesquieu had suggested. Again, number of famous faces, including Franklin, Washington, and Adams. And one of the things to get the Constitution approved was the Bill of Rights. This is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that recognize the idea of the people having basic rights that the government must protect. The Bill of Rights and the Constitution have endured for more than 200 years and are still important today. It's become a symbol of freedom and inspired other countries to revolt against the European powers. Next chapter, literally, we'll talk about the French basically doing the same thing in the name of liberty and equality. And within the coming years, other Europeans would take up the cry for freedom as well. Again, here's all 10 of the Bill of Rights. And that is it for notes for today. So you're going to go do Shag Stamp Act. Honors, your Thinkers Project is due. And you have a test next time. I'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.